Hey, everybody. Welcome to Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, where we help you take charge of your cash flow, leverage your assets, and break through to a smart, stable financial future. That's exactly what we do at Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, what we've been doing for several years now. And the reason we do it is because we've been in the place of, I don't know, being in a hard spot often and being in a place where, hey, we need to take charge of our money. Even though we were business owners, even though we were entrepreneurs, we were at a place of stress. We were at a place of overwhelm, and we were at a place where we just, I don't know, we needed some help. And we came across a concept that helped us get there. And now we're doing this whole thing and helping entrepreneurs. And so today is really fun because I am inviting in a friend I've known for a long time. He's also a client, and you will be surprised to hear that he is a Dave Ramsey coach. And the reason you would be surprised to hear that is because you might know some of our opinions on that. And I love Dave Ramsey in some ways I don't. And you've probably, if you don't know that, there's probably going to be links somewhere on our thoughts on some of that. So go in the bottom of the show notes. You'll see some of our reaction videos and all that. But we're not here to talk about Dave Ramsey, maybe a little bit, but really I want to talk about Mark and why he's even in the Ramsey thing, right? So a little bit about Mark. Since entering the financial services industry more than 15 years ago, he has built one of Indiana's premier financial coaching firms located in Indiana, Valparaiso. Mark and his team enjoys helping next gen, meaning Generation X and Y. That's again why I probably like him, because we work with a lot of those guys and millennials. Find peace of mind with easy to follow strategies for budgeting, debt elimination, and financial planning. In addition to being a Ramsey preferred master financial coach, which he'll talk about, I'm sure, Mark serves as a coordinator for Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, as well as teaches for junior achievement in local elementary schools. So he's teaching them about money early, which is great. I think our financial system doesn't teach, or our education system doesn't teach about money, and so to get in there young is probably super helpful. So with that, let's welcome Mark to the podcast and show.
Hey Brandon, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? Welcome. I love that little picture in the back. Muhammad Ali there, right? I believe.
Yeah. Muhammad Ali. Quick story. I grew up with a poster in my bedroom that said "Impossible is nothing." I don't remember if it was Nike or if it was Adidas, but it was a poster of him standing over Sonny Liston, saying "Impossible is nothing." And so, I don't know, that moment has always kind of spoken to me, and I always love that. Nice. I love his story, fighting for what you believe in, both inside and outside the ring.
Nice. Well, there you go. And then it's inspiring to you as you come into the office every day. And, when I bet you probably deal with, and I had conversations with some people just the other day saying, this is impossible. This is hard. I can't overcome this. And to have that image there behind you, as they're lamenting and saying, I can't overcome this. You probably look and say, well, that's hogwash. It is not impossible to overcome these barriers, right?
I find people get stuck when it comes to money. They get stuck in in the mud, down in a hole. And there's a lot of guys out there, not like you or me, but the talking heads out there that like to stand at the top of the hole and just say, you should do better. What'd you even get down there for? What's wrong with you? Get yourself out. Come on, you just got to want it harder. And then there's other people that will climb down in the hole and sit with them for just a minute and say, wow, this really sucks. I'm so sorry this happened to you. What can I do? How can I help? And then build out with them, help them out, as opposed to just standing over and saying, hey, you should have done better. You should have known better. What's wrong with you?
Well, I would say I probably know. Again, going back to your bio, some of those talking heads, and why one of the reasons I don't like Mr. Ramsey so much is he's one of those people that say you're an idiot, you're stupid, and realizing that finances are complicated. There is no soundbite to solve everything, and a lot of it is emotional. A lot is tailored, and to be able to just I don't know. I just don't like being condescending and yelled at, and even saying, I mean, again, I do infinite banking. When they say you're stupid and this doesn't work and you're just out to make a buck, I'm like, well, you don't even actually know how it affected me and how it's affecting my clients. Right? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. No, there's very little seek to understand when it comes to anything that's outside the normal. Which, and I see this with all sorts of people out there. The big ones, the Dave Ramsey, the Susie Orman. I see it all the way down to the local guys here. Look, I have a plan. I have a process. If you follow my plan, if you follow my process, you're going to be successful. If you don't do it, then you're going to be a miserable failure, and you have no one to blame but yourself. And it's that mentality. And when we understand, as we go through and talk about everything today, Dave Ramsey, I grew up in the Financial Peace University system. I taught it. It's what some of the principles that I teach now are based upon. When we go through all this, we have to remember one thing. I played football in high school. Dave Ramsey was like my football coach. Okay, He's the one screaming on the sideline that says, "Get the first down, or else you're an idiot." It's his personality style. It's how he's wired, and it worked for a generation. And does it always work now? No. Does it speak to everybody? No. But there are people it does work for. There are people it work, as it applies to. A coach's job is to give you a pat on the back when you need it and a kick in the what, when you want when you don't want it necessarily, to get that going. So he's got the kick in the pants down really well.
Yeah, right. Well, and I feel like that's something, even like I was talking to a client that I have the same conversation over and over again just the other day. And I was like, dude, it's not an issue with insurance and not an issue with the products. It maybe, have you ever budgeted before? Have you written down everything that you spend money on? And sometimes there's a couple things, and he said his income has dropped. I was like, well, okay, so what are you going to do to increase your income? You can only do two things really, is increase income in a business. That's pretty much it. And save more money or keep more of your income. And oftentimes, and this is something I think about when it comes to budgeting, if you don't have a plan for your money, everyone has a plan for your money. Everybody out there, you just walk out the door and there's a plan for your money.
Yep.
So I see a comment from another Deulley, I think. He says, I think this might be a family member. There's no one soundbite or even one solution that works for all financial circumstances 100% of the time. I think that's true. Everything is tailored, and it takes more time. That's the problem, where a lot of people, they don't understand money, so they don't take the time to actually understand their own crap, their own stuff.
Yep.
And I think that's a challenge. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What was money like growing up for you? How did you end up in this thing?
Oh man.
What did we talk a lot about grandma's wealth wisdom. What did grandma teach you about money?
So I had two opposite sides when it came to grandmother's wealth wisdom for me. One side was just save as much as you can, put it all away. There's going to be a rainy day someday, and live way below your means, almost to the point of never have fun.
Yeah.
Money is this Ebenezer Scrooge kind of approach. there. And then my other grandmother was extremely generous. She was such a giving person that it went so far above and beyond. But the problem with that side of it was she had no solid financial backing. She had no understanding of how to grow income. And so whenever extra money was there, it was just given away in a heart of generosity, which we love and we bless her for. But it's like there's somewhere a truth in between the two. So I actually got to see both extreme spectrums growing up from my grandmothers.
I see that again with clients. They're like helping their kids through college, yet they have no plan for their own retirement or when they get there. And I'm like, there's a challenge that's going to happen, and your kids are in through college. That's great. Hopefully that's going to work out for them, but you might be sleeping on the couch at some point. Like,
couch if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you get a couch.
And so you gotta like figure out, okay, this idea of going into a put on your oxygen mask first before you put on the oxygen mask of others. And your one grandma probably put on the oxygen mask, right? But she was like not realizing what is enough, right? How do I build that to have, and it's a balancing act. So that's a great thing to figure out. Okay, how do you take both sides and marry it into one? And that's, again, it's complicated.
Yep.
Each person's different. What about one of your, like, going into some of your backstory? And I want to get really vulnerable here. What is one of your deepest regrets or failures that you're now using this failure to launch into what you're doing now? Failures in business.
You're just coming out swinging here today. There's no there's no like rev up, anything like that. Let's just go for it.
We got to help these people. Like, there's so much crap out there in knowledge and or not knowledge. Like, but learning from our failures is going to help these other people say, hey, I don't need those failures. I want my own failures.
Yeah. My biggest failure as a family, like 2017 was a very, very bad year for us. My wife and I, we lost 2 businesses and 2 babies in the same year. I tend to believe that they were interconnected, that the stress of the businesses caused, that, and just, it was a very, very bad year for us. And what I did not understand at the time, I was believing my own legend more than I should have been. And I was thinking, okay, well, this is what I need to do. I need to go out. I need to go start a business. I need to go work on all this. And I messed it up really bad. And I had to close the business. We had a really, really rough time. We ended up living, me and my wife and my daughter lived above a Papa John's pizzeria in a 1-bedroom, 500 square foot apartment. We gave the bedroom to our daughter, and we had our bed in the living room. No furniture, no nothing. I mean, like, it was bad. And I kept pushing because I was believing the entrepreneurial dream. When I first jumped into the world of entrepreneurialism ship, we just believed, jump, leap, and the universe will respond. And like Wile E. Coyote, or my favorite was more like Homer Simpson jumping Springfield Gorge, where he's like, I'm gonna make it, and then wham, and then you get back to the top, and something else happens, you go right back down, you fall down again. That was a really painful experience. We put everything. We liquidated our retirement. We liquidated our home. We put everything into that. And one of the big takeaways that I learned in that process, tons of them, but the difference between purchasing power and money. People say, oh, I don't have any money, but you have $20,000 of credit card availability. You have equity in your home. You have a 401k. You have family and friends that you can ask for help and support. But what happens when all of that's gone? And literally, you're looking at your checking account, and you've got $10 in the account. It's going to last you to the end of the week. Your daughter says, hey, Dad, can we go get an ice cream cone from Dairy Queen? And you say, I'm sorry, sweetheart. We can't do that because I'm not making enough money, because I'm not taking care of our family. And I take this very seriously, understanding, you know what? When you're down to less than $10 of purchasing power, you really have to look back and go, what happened? Where did I go? What can I do about it? And that's what we did. My wife and I, we worked out of it, started building, doing more and more. And we stepped away from entrepreneurship, went to working back at a job and doing things and went back. Now we're back in entrepreneurship. And what the lesson for me in all of this that I couldn't hear it, but I had to experience it, was that money is emotional. It's a highly emotional subject. And like you were talking earlier about the parents who want to, pay for their kids' college more than want to plan for retirement. It's because it's emotional. They know what it felt like to leave school with debt, or maybe they didn't even get to go to school. And so they feel obligated. There's a social contract that says success means paying for school.
Yeah.
And that's immediate. It's right in front of their eyes. And so that becomes the driving factor way more than, well, wait a minute. What about my retirement? What about paying off my house? What about planning for future income? Things like that. They don't think about those things. They don't think about starting a business. They don't think about taking a side job. It's just about, I'm in pain. How do I get out of pain? Or I have a goal I set for myself. I didn't think it through strategically of whether or not this is the most strategic thing I need to do. And I'm just pushing and driving an engine. I liken money sometimes a lot to sitting on a exercise bike. You're going to pedal, and you're going to get the workout, but have you gone anywhere? And that's really the question as we go through this is like, where are we going? And we can put the work in, doesn't mean we're going to get to where we want to go.
When I think about that, even from our business, we were in a very similar situation, had a great business, 2 years in, maybe 3 years into the business. We had a miscarriage. My father-in-law passed. My mother-in-law had a stroke, I think, at that year. Cat died. My grandma died. And our marriage was like just shot because of finances, and realizing that I wasn't valuing ourselves. Like we were putting everything out and not taking care of ourselves. And we could have maybe gotten more credit and more of that, but I didn't know if that was going to solve the problem. Because we could get a credit card and solve it immediately, maybe, but then that's actually not solving the problem or dealing with the heart and emotional stuff. And then what I learned through that process and why we ultimately sold the business was I talked to a mentor, and he said, we said, we're almost debt free. We've done all of this stuff. And he said, so how much are you paying yourself? And I was like, well, let's not talk about that. I was like, because we weren't really paying ourselves and everyone else was. And
I get it. Yep. I was there. I'm there with you.
And that's why I love the profit first model of saying, okay, how do we make sure that the business is healthy, but also its number one asset is healthy too. And as a business owner, you probably now realize if you're unhealthy, your business is going to be unhealthy, and it's going to affect your marriage and all of this. So money is 100% emotional, and not just a thing of, and sometimes buying the products isn't necessarily about rate of return. It's about what is it that it's giving me or my family. That's why I like life insurance is amazing, because it builds some stability of the, like, life insurance in essence. It's if something happens, your family around you is okay. And I think that's powerful. So I just wanted to share my story. So since you were being vulnerable, I shared mine. So I like that whole thing. How would you say, with what you're doing, and we're going to get into this variable income thing. And I am a person who gets variable income now, and it was really when we sold our business, I was in your same boat of, my wife said, well, go get a job, because, and I'm like, man, I'm not employable. It's not gonna happen. And of course now I'm in financial services of all things. But what do you tell somebody who's like, has this huge variable income And how, again, we're getting in the budget. How do you coach them?
Yeah, people who have variable income, it's the default thing I hear. Well, I can't budget because 1 month I'll make $1,000, the next month I'll make $10,000. I can't budget my life. Now, this could be real estate agents. It could be car salesmen I work with that do this. All sorts of salesmen. Entrepreneurs are probably one of the worst for it because. Yeah. Or best, whichever way you look at it. They're one of the most people that listen to this the most, is because they have this roadblock that all these budgets that are built out there are designed for people who get a biweekly or a weekly check, and you can budget off of it, and this is how much it is. And it becomes very difficult though when you're self-employed.
Yeah.
What I tell them is a concept called the thin blue line. Okay, this is the thin blue line right here. Everything above the thin blue line is your business expense. This is where you pay out marketing, advertising, operation expense, everything here. And then what crosses below the thin blue line is your personal expense. This is what you live on. And what ends up happening, which is right along the lines of what Profit First says to do, is separate owner you from employee you. What's his name? E-Myth. Malcolm Gladwell?
Michael Gerber.
Michael Gerber. I had the right initials. Totally wrong person. Malcolm Gladwell's a good guy too. But separate that owner you from the personal you. And when you do that, you start to realize, wait a minute, what are my top products? What's selling, and how much money's crossing the line? And I've actually helped a lot of entrepreneurs go, wait a second, you're spending 70 to 80 hours a week making $2 to $3 grand a month on this business. Your skill set is way above that. We either need to fix what's going on up here and make the business pay you more. Like basically the bottom line is your business can't afford you. That's one of the things that we end up coming into. The other, so that's like the one extreme. That's the entrepreneur side. Then we have people who are just crushing it, that are just killing it. They're making over 100 grand a year, but they make variable income.
Yeah.
And so what happens is they don't have a system, they don't have a process, and because of that, they don't, like, they say, well, I work for a corporation. There is no thin blue line. Well, no, up here, the money that comes into this account, it stays there, and you pay yourself a flat amount every time, and then either quarterly or once a year, anywhere between twice a year, whatever's good for your lifestyle and your budget, you start paying yourself bonuses. You start paying yourself more out of the excess that's there. But because of that, you're gonna be able to plan your life a lot better. You're going to have stress, all the stress and the chaos at home is going to go away. Because you mentioned it earlier, if the home ain't good, if below the thin blue line isn't good, the foundation's not good, the business doesn't matter. The job doesn't matter. You have to have that bottom part. Nobody likes to buy from a desperate salesman. I'm going to do a second Simpsons reference. Remember Gil from The Simpsons? Oh, man, come on. You got to buy from me today. My wife's going to leave me. Come on. Nobody wants to buy from that person. And so if we have a bad month, if we have 2 bad months, we start to become like that, or we're an entrepreneur, variable income. How can we stop that? Well, here's what we do. You make 10 grand this month, you make 1 grand next month, you make 6 grand the month after that. We start averaging it out. We say, okay, you know what? You're going to pay yourself 5 grand a month. And you're going to do it. And for most people, it takes them 3 to 6 months to get this process up and running. But the peace of mind that flows from doing this, it's unprecedented. Because what happens is you start to work on your goals then. When you have that 10K month, instead of going out and spending $5,000 that month, you have it in an account. And then you wait every quarter or every 6 months, you make a decision about what you're going to do with that extra money. And I'm a big believer in percentages. So you take it, you predetermine what the percentage is. 50% is going to be used for fun. 30% is going to be used for debt elimination. 20% is going to be used for, financing the future. Retirement planning, or paying off a house, whatever your next financial goal is. When you get that 50, 30, 20 on all of your bonus money, you're still budgeting fun. You're still budgeting the things that you want to do. You're just planning this, and instead of your job leading you around or your business leading you around, you're starting to take the bull by the horns. You're being able to be in control, and when you're in the driver's seat and you got the hands on the wheel, oh man, it is a great feeling. You wake up every day, you're excited to do what you do. You may love the work, but man, when the money makes sense with it, and you got that peace of mind because you know what's going to happen, no matter what happens down the road, no matter who gets elected, no matter what the Fed does, what the market does, you're in a great place because you got a system going. That's a peace of mind you can't put a price tag on.
I mean, again, that's why I like the profit first system, and where we fell in love with that is because it's all percentage based, and it kind of gave us parameters to deal with this. And I, a couple months ago, I made like quite a bit of money, more than I made like even in the coffee shop world. And then the next month, you're like, oh wow, I only made $4,000, and I'm gonna eat ramen this month. I'm like, last month I was like buying a Mercedes, and that's the tension we fall into as business owners, and where we're like, schizophrenic, I guess you could say. And so now what we've done is we've set ourselves a salary, right? So I know without a doubt that my home life and everything else on the home life is going to be good. I mean, I got that all squared away for, even if no money came through for a year, we'd be okay.
So can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
You mentioned feeling schizophrenic with it.
Yeah.
And variable income people are a select breed. They call it the variable income lifestyle. It's a very rare select breed because they will grind and hunt. And once they make the kill, there's a feeling of relief, and there's an emotional response. Like you mentioned buying the Mercedes. You have that great month. You're like, man, the 6 months before this, you know how much work I had to do to make this month? I deserve to be able to spend this money.
Yeah.
And if we can learn to be aware of those emotions and manage them in a healthy way, you don't even need a budget. You need emotion, like the emotion. You just need someone to say, hey, hold on a second. Great job, buddy. Let's great job draining that 3-pointer. Let's get back on defense. Let's not celebrate and whoop and holler.
Well, I think even talking to my client the other day, I was like, dude, you've been talking the same conversation. You need a budget. You need to figure this out. And you're saying that you're not making, maybe you need to make more money, right? He's a W-2 guy. Maybe that's true, but really, what are you spending your money on? And most people, they say, well, the car situation, I had to fix the car. It cost me $600. Whenever, again, you work in finance, you look at their numbers and you're like, you were lying. You actually spent $1,000 for this thing. I only go to dinner, once a month or once a week. And then you find out, no, they go almost every other day, and they just say it's McDonald's, so it's a $3 meal, so it's no big deal. And you add those up and you're like, well, here's where your money's going. And I also kind of think about this a lot, which you do budgeting. I absolutely, and I think I told you this earlier, I hate budgeting.
You're a variable income. That's why. No, just kidding.
I mean, it's true. I hate it. My wife is always telling me we can't afford it, or we need to do it this way or that. And I always have money meetings. Like we have the money meetings, and in a business, and then this is going to be my question. I like to look and have a P&L statement and know, hey, can I spend money on this or can I not? Having those guidelines is helpful, but putting that stuff into YNAB, and I like YNAB. Mainly, I like looking at the reports that my wife put together for me, but able to then say, okay, we're good. How do you balance that with an entrepreneur who is like, hey, I need to go kill it, and talk about them with money and budgeting? How do you help them with that?
So two things as we go through this. First of all, we've danced around this, but I'm just going to come out and say it. You cannot solve a keep more money problem with a make more money strategy. I go through and talk about this in my next gen budget boot camp, and it's like an entire section's based upon this. We have to break that mentality. You can't out earn a keeping problem. It's impossible. If you make $50,000 and you spend $50,000, it's what?
This is a quotable. So tell me that again.
Yeah, you cannot solve a keep more money problem with a make more money strategy.
Yep.
And because of this, I work with people and they try to go, well, I just need to make more. I just need to make more. I make 50 grand, I need to make 70. I make 70, I make 100. Well, if you make 50 and then you spend 50, you spent everything. If you make 100 and you spend 100, you spend everything. If you make 200 and you spend 200, you're still eventually, no matter how high you get your income to be, you eventually have to start learning how to keep more. And so that's why I encourage people, no matter where you're at, if you make $2,000 a month, start putting 1% away. If you make 2,000, you can live off of 1980. If you make 5,000 a month, you can live off of 4,950. And what we're starting to do is manage your emotions. You're starting to celebrate keeping money. Because what happens? We have something good in our life happen. We get a promotion. We find out we're having a kid, or our kids are having a kid. We're going to become a grandparent. What do? We go out and celebrate. We spend money. If we can learn that, wait a second, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I heard this from an advertiser once. All you have to do is get people to start saying, if you're happy and you know it, spend some dough. If you're happy and you know it, spend some dough. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, go spend your money. Go spend your money, And that's what we're trained to do. It's social norm. It's what we do. So we can never solve a keep more money problem with a make more money strategy. A keep more money strategy is a budget. And a budget's broken down into three things. You have to forecast, you have to track, and you have to manage your emotions. Emotions is the third one. And no budgets that I see out there focus on all three. Some are really good at them. The every dollar budget is a really good forecasting budget. The envelope system, or even just like a checkbook ledger, it's a great tracking tool. There's Overspenders Anonymous. There is the stewardship mentality that manages the emotions of things. There's different things out there for each of these three categories. But that's something, and I'm just going to do a quick little plug here for Next Gen Money Coaching. We built something called the Next Gen Budget that brings all three of those things together into a single budget. Okay, we want to make it easy for people, and the final piece of this is that it has to be customized. It has to be personalized, because like you said, you don't, from what I heard, you like seeing the reports. You like seeing, okay, here, this is what I would call the forecast. You're looking to see, okay, here's my P&L, here's what I can expect to do. I like seeing the numbers, but sitting down and actually writing out, well, this is what I spent here, and this is how much I spent there, and that goes into that category. That sounds like it's exhausting. Am I hearing you right on that?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
For sure. So if you and I are building a budget together,
I'll get it wrong.
We know that
my wife gave me the budget once, and I screwed it up, and she's like, I'm taking it back.
And then, hey, just so you know, every single person I've ever worked with in the first 3 months, they've messed it up at some point. And it's okay. It's like, got to get back on it. Got to get back on the horse on that. It's no problem. And that's, we're going to talk about emotions later, but that shame, that guilt, that fear that hits, there's a reason why the department stores and the banks want us to feel that way when it comes to this, because they want you to believe you're terrible at money, so you have to give it over to them. But what I was going to say to you is that for someone like yourself, it's like, look, I like the forecasting, but I'm not a big fan of the tracking. We need to make the tracking element as simple as possible. As simple as possible. Instead of having 25 categories, we may need 3 categories or 5 categories. We don't need all this excessive tracking, but we want to make sure we're doing the forecast. And you know that when you're doing it, you're okay, wait a minute. Okay, I got to do the tracking. How can I make this as easy as possible? Maybe I only do this once a week. Maybe I do it, maybe I have to do it every day for the first couple months to get the habit built. Knowing and understanding where that's at is where it's built. But I'm going to tell you right now, budgets are not won and lost in the forecast. Budgets are not won and lost in the tracking. Budgets are won and lost in the emotions. The more that we can become aware of our emotions, the better that we're going to be able to perform with our budgets.
I think that's another quotable right there, that emotion thing. Because again,
Yep.
doing YNAB, their rules are give every dollar a job, embrace
Yep.
your true expenses, roll with the punches, and age your money. But it doesn't talk about any emotional rules there, which I think some of them emotion does play into it. And I think, again, the reason we are in our challenge as an Americans is we spend more than we make nowadays. And the credit card companies have learned how to manipulate our emotions. I mean, even Dave Ramsey knows how to manipulate our emotions, right? And we aren't in tune with our own emotions and what we have here. Now, man, I get profit distributions and I don't even know what to do with that money. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm getting $3,000. And it's great. I like the emotion of winning and getting that. And then I'm like, what do I spend it on? Which is a better problem than I don't have any money. Yeah. What else? Like you said, budget is emotional. What would you tell somebody who's like, man, I get it, I understand it. How do I break through? And again, we're about breakthrough to a smart, stable financial future. How do you break through from that? Knowing you have dad issues, you have business issues, you got all kinds of psychological hang-ups. How do you help them there?
Susie Orman has a beautiful quote out there. It's a guiding principle for my life. And it talks about being truly, truly wealthy, being truly stable in life. And she says that it'll never occur until your joy in keeping money equals or exceeds your joy in spending money. What does that mean? Like, that is such a abstract concept to most of us. Well, what that means is that when you get something good that happens in your life, your direct impulse, like you said, you just got $3,000. Your direct impulse is to say, stop, wait, think. What are my goals? How does this play into my long-term picture? If you're not doing that, then what happens is you get that $3,000, the emotion kicks in, you start wanting to celebrate, and you're going, okay, I'm going to go buy this. I'm going to go do this. Or worse yet, I'm going to put a down payment on something. And then, that $3,000 should be coming every 6 months for me now. So I should know that I could take on a $300 a month payment. I'll be just fine, blah, blah, And so we do things like that as we work through it. If you can learn to go through an entire day without spending money, your life will change. This was like, we talked about the negative thing earlier, like what was the moment where your life fell apart? Let me tell you how my life came back together now. Okay.
Oh yeah, there we go. I should have asked that.
No, it's all right. It's all right. My life came back together when I started doing something called $0 days. It's a very simple concept. This is for the person who says, I don't like budgeting. This is easy. How many days a month can you give me where you spend $0? You don't spend any money the entire day. Okay? Real simple, real easy, but very, very hard to do. Because what happens is you start thinking, oh man, I just picked up the kids. I'm tired. I need to go home. I'm just going to stop at McDonald's. But you've had a $0 day that whole day. And you go, man, am I really going to blow my $0 day at 6 p.m.? Am I going to do, so it starts curbing your behavior naturally, not by focusing on not spending money, but by focusing on having days where you spend no money. There's no white paper written on this. I can't prove it. It's a personal belief based across who I've come across so far. I'm going to ask your opinion on it. If I put two people in front of you and one person spends money 30 days a month and one person spends money 25 days a month, which one do you think is more likely going to have more money left over at the end of the month?
The 25-day guy.
25-day. If we did the same thing, we said, okay, you have a 30-day person and you have a 20. This person will spend money 20 days. Which one do you think is going to have more money at the end of the month?
But you asked the question if you have
somebody who spends money 30 days, every day of the month they spend money, and you have somebody who spends 20 days. Who do you think is going to have more money at the end of the month? Probability.
20-day guy.
20-day, right? To be the 20-day guy, you only have to not spend money 2 times a week. Give your wallet, give your debit card, give your cash a break 2 days a week. And by doing that, just statistically, you're going to end up with more money. And I'm going to take a jab now as my shot where I'm going to start throwing why do I believe what I believe versus like YNAB. YNAB says give every dollar a job, right?
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the month, if you've given every dollar a job, how much money do you have left at the end of the month?
None, because you've allocated it all.
So where's your feeling of winning? That feeling of winning that you had that was, oh, I got this $3,000. I don't even know what to do with it. Yeah. If we can start bringing that feeling into every day, into every month, where you're like, wow, I was able to end the month with an extra $100. I was able to end the month with an extra $5. I don't care how much it is. You feel like you're winning, and that vision gives the pain the purpose of going through the $0 days. I'm not a fan of every dollar budget.
My allocating, giving every dollar a job may be put towards savings or to my life insurance policy, for example. And it is not spending. I'm allocating it to something besides just in a savings account, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I agree with you. In our budget, you still have money that you keep, you have money that you give, you have money that you use to pay off your debt. You're like, those are still included in it. But what this is at the end of the month, you know, when you go to McDonald's and you get the fry and you eat all the fries out of container, and you're like, man, I just had like one more fry. And you look in the bottom of the bag and there's one more fry. There's that bonus fry in the bottom of the bag. That's what this is. I had money I planned on keeping. I had money I planned on investing for retirement and those things. But I just had this little bit of extra at the end. It gives that little bit of, it's the extra fry at the bottom of the bag. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So you're building your budget, and then if you do this, you're going to also have extra. You're going to just feel even better, or a small success. Besides that, I think that's powerful.
And if you don't, no big deal. You budgeted for it. You still, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So you're either awesome or you're awesome. Which one do you want to be?
Yeah. Well, and what do you say for like the spenders, right? That, man, I need to keep growing my business. I can't pay myself. I can't do these $0 days because I'm a business owner and I need to reinvest in my business. I mean, I hear this all the time. Reinvest.
Yeah. So this is where we're going to go back to our thin blue line right here. I need to get like a really cool graphics guy, like in the NFL, that could shoot like the line across the screen, you know?
Yeah.
We go back to our thin blue line. Who's saying that? Is personal you, as employee you saying that, or is business owner you saying that? Because what's actually happening in that conversation is business owner you is telling employee you, I'm sorry, I can't give you a raise. I'm sorry, I can't take care of you as my employee. You're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it, because there's just no money in the budget. We can't have you do that. Nobody else on the planet Earth would work for that boss. As entrepreneurs, we're sometimes our own worst terrible boss.
Yep.
And so what do? We have to tell ourselves, hey, look, Mark, owner Mark needs to come down to employee Mark and say, look, I need to bring stability to you. Here's what it looks like. And I'm going to tell you right now, you know, Brandon, as we're talking about this, a lot of people try to run out. They try to do 15 $0 days in a month. I say, look, give me 3. And if we're at the end of the month, give me 1. Like, just try it. Build. It's building a muscle. 3, then 4, then 5. Work your way up to it. You know, go through and do it, because it's so difficult. You're not just retraining behavior, you're retraining emotions, which are like the most powerful thing on the earth right now. You know, like it's driving force and change. So yeah, the entrepreneurs out there are like, oh, I need to be able to spend my money. That probably means that you don't have it planned the best. And I'm saying this with love, like, hey, you know, I appreciate you. I'm glad that you took the risk to step out to be a business owner. But if I go to the grocery store every single day, and you find out the reason why I have to do that is because I don't own a refrigerator, you probably should tell me to go buy a refrigerator so I don't have to go to the grocery store every day.
Right.
I would say the same thing to business owners. Okay. You need to look at what you have in your business and start planning. And then it's okay if you don't hit your plans. It's all right.
Yeah.
But let's start building a plan. Let's start getting those things in place. And then now that you have a place to store those ideas, you have a place to store those goods and services and all the money you need to spend. You know, what happens when all of your bills come out of the account on the same day of the month?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, wow, your life is easy. You don't have to go every day and spend money. You don't have to do your bills every day. You don't have, it becomes so much easier. Now we're talking like personal finance 301 and 401 at this point. I'm kind of dabbling in that, but really what I'm saying to this is like the easiest thing, $0 days, get days where you don't spend money, watch how your emotions change.
Well, and something I thought about, and Susie Orman is all against, or a lot, going out and spending money on coffee. And I'm like, dude, I used to own a coffee shop. Like, I want people to come and spend money on coffee. Like, that is like the worst thing for a business owner like that. I'm like, dude, come in every day. I'm okay with it. But then at the same time, as a consumer, if I'm buying venti lattes, and I would never go to a Starbucks, but if I'm buying from those every day and getting these extra large things and saying, well, I deserve it, gosh darn it, there is a problem there on the flip side. And so even in our budget, I have there coffee. And I won't go every day, but Sundays I'll go get something. And some people will look down on me because, oh, well, you could have used that money and invested it. I'm like, well, it's $4 and I still want to live. How do you balance that? The ones that are like, man, I deserve it, and you see them, like they got the giant cups, and then you got the other ones that are like, oh, I guess it's grandma. I'm going to keep it all and put it under my mattress. How do you balance that in the budget?
So it's funny to me on this because everybody seems to have their opinion about the best way to do it. Everybody does. Oh, you got to do it this way.
I love coffee.
I'll be able to do it. I have a lot of grace and compassion for people like Susie Orman that come out and say, look, this is the way. We're very Mandalorian in this. Like, there is the way. There is nothing else. You have to do it this way.
Yeah.
It's so like there is no one size fits all budget. There's not. If you want to go spend money on coffee, go spend money on coffee. If you just because the markup on an item is higher doesn't mean it doesn't bring you the same amount of joy.
Yeah.
If I can go get a cup of coffee in my house for 25 cents, or I go spend $5 on a venti, iced, frappe, whipped, no milk, no skim, skinny, I don't know all the terms. There's all the stuff out there. I can go get this crazy thing that's got like a list this long on the side of it. What difference does it make? Now, so let me give you an example this way. The traditional mindset. Let's talk about the Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, okay? And not your guys' program, but like Grandma. What would Grandma say? Grandma says, go buy a house, go pay off the house, and make sure you only get 15% of your income in the payment of your house. The bank will tell you can go up to 25%. Some banks may even do more on there, but the traditional wisdom is 15% on the house. But wait a minute. What if I like to entertain? What if I want to have people over more? What if I don't? What if I want to, instead of going out and spending $100 every Friday night and going out to eat, I stay in and I invite people over to my house. I've now put $400 back in my pocket. Can I have a bigger house then? Can I have a higher house payment for that because I'm not going out to eat and doing that? What if coffee for me is a social interaction? What if it's how I interact with the world around me? What if I get my work done there? Well, if I'm an entrepreneur, I need to do that. Now, that's the difference in Thin Blue Line. Coffee may be a business expense, and it may not be a personal expense. You got to look at the difference there. But what I'm saying is that, and this is, what difference does it make whether I spend $4 over 100 days and buy coffee and manage my emotions on a day in, day out basis, or I spend $400 on a one-night hotel and get away for a night? Yeah. Depending on your personality style, who you are, it can vary. And this is, I pause when I talk about this because it gets my blood to boil. It gets me frustrated. It's why I started Next Gen Money Coaching, is because everybody wants to come out and say, well, this is the way you got to do it. And if you don't do it, there's something wrong with you or you suck. And it's just not true. It's just not true.
Well, and that's why I wanted you on here and why we connect well. Because again, I do life insurance and annuities, and building stability is what we think a lot about for entrepreneurs and business owners, and just thinking about those things, right? I mean, like, again, buying a house and paying off your mortgage may be good, maybe is powerful. But I do think, hey, the interest rates in grandma's generation on a house was higher. We also didn't have expenses that were needed, quote unquote, needed expenses like Netflix and Disney Plus and everything else that we all of a sudden need now, which is really interesting. And I think that, again, knowing how you're wired emotionally, what brings you joy, because again, that fear of missing out versus joy of missing out, maybe that joy and holding your money to say, is this really going to bring me joy? So having those $0 days probably, I bet you, make you think through that I'm going to hold this and I'm going to buy this. You think through it, and then you really see what brings you joy versus I'm going to go fill up with empty calories. And this is a dieting thing, sacrifice and calorie cost. I've been doing some of that lately, but I still like to eat, right? And so I'm like, all right, how do you balance that? And it's the same kind of thing. Same emotions with dieting. Money is the same thing.
It is.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about that and how we're wired. So you think there's ever going to be an emotional budgeting app? Are you going to create one? Like maybe what you do is you have the app that zaps them, like they get a track when they do something. They have a watch, right? And you could tell, the ring lights. I'm just giving you some ideas that you could tell your mood by the mood ring. So maybe you have an app that then, if your mood is really bad and you're about to go use your credit card, it'll zap you or something. That would be fun.
I know there's some people out there listening to this right now. They're like, I would buy that. I would get that. I would do that. I'm going to tell you this though. Everything we do right now with Next Gen Money Coaching is all built on paper, because there's something emotional that occurs when you actually handwrite things down as opposed to key it into your phone. Will there be an app at some point? It's possible. We look at those kind of things, but there's something really specific. And if we're talking about behavioral change here, what you just defined was external stimulus, external things determining my behavior. What it's saying, and I know it was, you're joking, but I think there's some people out there like, man, I could really use that. But what's happening is I need someone else to manage me. I need something else out there. And what it does, it puts off the mentality of actually dealing with the emotions that are in there. And it can also cause more damage. We see this a lot in dieting with the yo-yo diet. Like, I'll get on the diet, I'll follow the path, but the minute I get off the diet, I put the 50 pounds back on, and I got to go back on the diet and back forth. The whole point of the Next Gen budget, and what I do, this is my life's passion, helping people deal with the emotions around the money. That way you can continue to make solid financial decisions going forward. If you can learn how to manage that. And it doesn't mean you get it right every time. God, I don't get it right every time. I've hit my head on the stupid ceiling a few times on these things, but where I failed, I can help teach others, and I can help people learn on there. As that happens, life changes, things get better. And instead of having to have that external stimulus, whether it be a spouse, a phone app, whatever it is, you can start to manage and understand that. In the same way that if you start changing your diet behavior, when I'm young and I don't know the difference, and you put a chicken breast in front of me, you put a slice of cake, and I go, oh, slice of cake, I'm definitely going to eat that, whatever. As I get older, I start to realize, okay, wait a minute, that probably has 20 to 25 grams of protein. That one has probably 20 to 25, maybe 40 grams of sugar in it. Protein's going to be better for my body. I can start to understand that. And the more I can internalize that, the more successful I'm going to be it food, be it money, anytime you're talking behavioral and emotional change.
Well, and I think about this again, Mike Michalowicz talks a lot about this with emotion and profit first. And what he says is, what we need to do is have smaller plates, right?
Mhm.
And so when money comes in, and if it's a big plate, well, then we're going to assume I got variable income. I got $40,000. I got a big thing of money coming through. So then what I'm hearing is you make smaller plates to then make sure that you are set in a positive way. It's highly emotional, but by having smaller portions, that's why he has like so many bank accounts and all that, is because we are making smaller plates. And then by having smaller plates, if you I'm going through this whole thing of not dieting, but portion control. Right now, I'm like, man, this plate is so small, but it's actually healthy. And so anyway, smaller plates are helpful. So I'm sure that's what you talk about. Well, how can people get to know you? I know we did not go into a Dave Ramsey rant as much as, we'll have to have you on again for that.
We'll have to do a part 2, that's just based around Dave Ramsey and insurance and financial advice. You and I could probably do a whole show just on that alone.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think that's again, thinking about how it all plays in is powerful. Life insurance and annuities and savings versus investing. That was one of my questions. What's the difference between saving and investing for you? Those are all powerful emotional questions too, by the way. And so thinking about those things and really for our listeners, remember, you're making emotional decisions every day with your dollars. Even though you're using a credit card, it is an emotional decision when you type it into your computer to buy an Amazon thing. It's ridiculous how easy it is. So stick with your emotions and be with the, what do you call it? Wrestle with it is what I'm saying here. So wrestle with your emotions and ask, do I really need it? Can I do, like for every one of us, have a $0 day? Like, even if you're really rich, or you think you're really rich, do a $0 day. See how it works. So, how can people get to know you? Where do I want them to go?
So we've talked about a lot of things here today as we've gone through it all. We touched very surface level on it. If you want to know more about like $0 days and the 3 parts of a budget, I have a course called Next Gen Budget Bootcamp. We do, it's a virtual course you take on your own time. You go to nextgenbudget.com, click Get Started with one of the classes on there. Take your time, and it's built on your schedule. Little 3 to 5 minute videos, ends up being about 3 hours of content. But by the end of it, you're going to have a custom budget built, personalized just for you. If you're still just kind of sampling and you want to know a little bit more, we have a Facebook group called $0 Partners. It's just a group dedicated to the $0 day concept. We want to help people build a community around $0 days and helping them build and grow that out. So $0 Partners, the subtitle is Living Intentionally and Budgeting Purposefully. So we want to make sure that we're doing these things. I haven't heard anyone ever say, I accidentally started a budget. So $0 Partners and nextgenbudget.com.
They do say I accidentally got into debt and I don't know how to overcome $30,000 of debt. I'm like, yeah, I think that's really interesting. Oh, I accidentally created a banner. So with all that, thanks for joining us. You guys don't forget to subscribe to Grandma's Wealth Wisdom. Write a review, share this video. Again, both Mark and I are here to help you break through to a smart, stable financial future, so you don't have to go through the pain that we went through, living above a Papa John's or wherever you live. Hey, make different mistakes and all of that. Learn from ours. And so with all that, thanks again, Mark, for joining us. We'll have you again soon. And thanks you guys for being a part of our live. See ya.